Hey guys, it's Drew again. Well, as you probably already know, Willie Mays passed away this past week, 93 years old, and I thought, what a good time to share a story about the first time I remember as a kid ever hearing about Willie Mays and show off some of the items that I've collected over the years. So let's check it out. So arguably, Willie Mays is considered one of, if not the greatest all-around baseball player of all time. And it's been one of those discussions and debates that talks about, depending on what statistics you look at and what he did on and off the field. But the point that I want to make is, no matter what discussion is talked about or how it's looked at, he's always in the talk. He's always in the running. And he passed away this last week, 93 years old. And, I don't have to go into all the statistics and the different things of what made Willie Mays so great and why he is always in those discussions. But I would want to tell a story about me as a child and my first exposure to Willie Mays. Now, I wasn't old enough to watch Willie Mays play. He retired when I was just a baby. And, but my dad grew up in New York, and he was a big Giants fan. And my dad was born in 1942, so in the Giants' heyday in the 50s, winning the World Series in 54, that was prime time for my dad to be a Giants fan. Now, as I talked to him and bring this stuff up, he told me that his favorite player was actually Monty Irvin, but something about Willie Mays. So there's this tradition that American boys sort of yearn for and have, which is just go and play and catch with your dad. Well, one of the games we used to play, my dad called it Catch a Flyer Up, and all he did was, I loved it. He would launch the ball really high in the air. It was just catching pop flies and get underneath it, and it was as a little kid you learn courage to stay underneath it, and keep your eye on the ball, and get your glove up in front of you and catch the ball, and to hear that pop in your glove, it was just a good feeling. And I loved when he would throw pop-ups. So when I was old enough, I started trying to throw them up to him. And I remember he did something one time, and it kind of took me back. He went back underneath it, and as he goes to catch it, instead of putting his glove up in front of you like the way I was taught, he put his glove down below and he caught a basket catch, Willie Mays style. I'd never seen that before. And I remember him telling me, oh yeah, Willie Mays used to do that. I didn't know who Willie Mays was, but I knew that was different and that was cool. And I used to love watching him do it. And I remember as I got older and I got a little bit better, I would try to do it, and I could do it sometimes. Every once in a while I would try it behind my back. I wasn't very good at that. But my dad would always do it, and he would talk about how he remembered watching Willie Mays when he would go to the Polo Grounds as a kid, and especially in batting practice and warm-ups, and he would catch them in basket catches, and my dad thought that was cool. Well, that means I thought it was cool. And that was kind of my first exposure to who Willie Mays was. And it wasn't his 660 home runs or his high batting average or the catch in the 1954 World Series. It was just that basket catch. It was something simple and smooth and cool, and it was just Willie, and it was something that connected baseball to my dad to me, and that I loved. So I've never been a huge Willie Mays collector. I've never really sought out specific cards that I really wanted, unless one of two things. First, it was part of a set, or it was a great deal on something, and then I would obtain it. But I never really sought out and said, I really want to get the Mays from X year or whatever. But as I started going through my collection, I realized I have more Willie Mays cards than I realized. So I want to kind of go through them. First, I want to go through some of the magazines. So again, you see all these magazines up here, and so many of these were gifts from people, and I just love them to death. But I do have a couple with Mays on it, and I thought it was kind of interesting because all three of them are compilation, meaning they're multiple people. So this one is from 1960, and it's talking about baseball's best for that year, and sure enough, Willie Mays is up there. And this is 3 years before the whole Pete Rose floating head rookie card thing, so maybe they got their inspiration from this magazine cover, I don't know. But amongst these other greats like Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews and Ernie Banks and whoever, Mays is right there, and he was considered one of the best of that year. And this is middle of his career. He was in his prime, and I understand that. But interesting when that is this one, and this is a sport magazine from 1969, I believe, and this one's a little more beat up. And but this talks about the 5 greatest players of all time. So it's interesting that he's listed. Now, it's interesting, of course, Sandy Koufax is on there, but he had just retired and had his dominance, and he was really in the prime eye of people. But amongst those, besides the Koufax, you've got Mays, Ruth, DiMaggio, and Cobb. And again, one of the greatest, according to Sport, that year. of all time, and he was listed there while he was still an active player. The only active player that was listed amongst these others at the time. And remember, Koufax had just retired in his prime. And then the last one, which I really like, and this is a more recent pickup for me. It was a gift from a very good friend of mine. Is from 1958, and it talks about the feud. Is it 58? Yeah, the feud of New York, and this is as both teams went out west, but it's the Dodgers and the Giants, and you've got Willie Mays, of course, leading the charge for the Giants there amongst the Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese, which is, of course, the personal reason why I love this magazine. So again, thanks, Will. I do appreciate this, but I want to kind of flip through real quick and show off my Mays cards. So these are in order, descending order from age. So the most current one I have is from my 1971 set. So there's the 71 Mays in pretty good shape, especially for my collection. I didn't actually remember that I had this, but I do have the 1970. And I like this card. I like the color on it. I like the blue sky on it. And this is not a very favorite set usually, but I do like this copy of this card. Then you've got his Decollage, and interesting. I like this card. I like this set, and I don't have many of this set, but I do have the Mays. And of course, this is a kind of a fan favorite for those who likes player cards. But I've got the 1965 batting leaders with Clemente, Aaron, and Mays, of course. And I heard someone talking about this card the other day, and they said they don't like the way that Mays is looking down. Maybe his eyes were closed or whatever. I've always kind of pictured, and maybe this is just the fantasy, that he was signing an autograph. I don't know why. I'm just sort of enamored with cards that show players signing autographs, and in my brain I've always thought he was looking down signing an autograph and someone took a picture. Whether he was doing that or not, I don't know, but that's in my mind what it is. And of course, just so much star power on that card. Then for my 1963 Fleer set, I've got this 1963 Fleer Willie Mays, great picture. And then of course this is a great one of the Pride of the NL, where you've got Mays and you've got Musial together, and of course this is from my Musial collection, so that's another great one. And then this one, rather beat up, but it's the way I like them. You've got the MVP from that set, another great card. And then you've got the 1958 All-Star. Love this set. I've got a few of this set, and Mays is interesting. And then this card, great one. It kind of shows off the rivalry. And, you know, I wonder, did these guys hate each other when they took this card? But you got Snyder and Mays together in the rival fence busters. And I like this card. It's just kind of fun because it does remind you of that classic duel that still goes on today, but just so much more heated when they were in the same city. And then a favorite of mine, 57. I've got the 57. And it's a great one. Which, by the way, if you don't know, same photograph. I didn't know that. I discovered that myself until I don't know, a couple years ago, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Never noticed that. And this one is from my 1956 set, and it's the Mays, and this one is absolutely trashed. And I actually got this one in a lot as I was building, and it was just destroyed. I mean, look at its face, it's all jacked up and stuff. And I really thought with the intention, well, I'll just pick up a better Mays in the future, but it came with a lot, so I took it, whatever. And of course the card's explosion, everything else, and I've never replaced it. So this is the copy of my 1956 Mays for my 1956 set. But great, and I love the action shot in the background of him sliding in, kind of looking up at the ump to get that safe call that he knew was going to happen. So, and then one of my most favorite, if not my most favorite, Willie Mays card is from way back when I built the set. I sold the set, except for a few key cards, including this one, because this is absolutely my favorite Willie Mays card, and that is from 1952 Bowman. Love this image of Willie Mays, very young Willie Mays, and I'm honored to have this in my collection. I'm glad I did not get rid of it back when I had the opportunity, and I've kept it, and absolutely love this card. So there's the examples of some Willie Mays cards. So I just wanted to share those with you, and I know there's been a lot of tribute videos coming out this week because of his passing, but it's a celebration of who he was as a player and as a person, and how he fits into all of our collecting lives, whether we're a huge fan or not a fan or whatever. But he definitely has an impact on history of the game, and I just appreciate him so much, and all you guys who are putting out all this content showing so much about him. So until next time, you guys be good.